What's going on, guys? We are watching the Dean Withers versus 20 MAGA women on the Jubilee account, and I want to watch this and react to it, and maybe address his arguments mainly on the abortion claims. I don't care about anything else about MAGA. MAGA is stupid, but the abortion is really what I want to hone down on because a lot of these women really struggled with trying to answer him, or just outright just kept on changing the topic or moving the goalpost. And so yeah, without further ado, let's get it. We're gonna start right at the abortion topic. Let's go.
My next surrounding claim is abortion should be legal.
If you want to debate this claim, please get to the center in 3, 2, 1.
Hello again.
Welcome back. Mike's yours. I'll let you take it away.
Okay, well, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do you believe in equality?
Well, I mean, I think that's a very vague question, but generally, of course.
Okay, so if you do, then all humans are equal, correct?
No, I don't think that all humans are equal, and I don't think you do either.
Oh, I absolutely think that all humans have a right to life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness.
Really?
It's part of our Bill of Rights.
Okay.
And if you actually love our Constitution and our Bill of Rights,
Yeah.
then you would believe what I believe.
Well, I mean, it says people, but small distinction there. I want to ask you a question. Is it murder for a doctor to pull the plug on a brain-dead patient in the hospital?
Some
No,
people
they're brain
actually
dead.
write what they want.
All right, so he said, is it murder to unplug a brain dead patient? Bro, what? The patient is brain dead. What does that even mean? It would not be murder if they're already brain dead. I don't get his argument, but we'll keep watching.
They say, hey, if I become brain dead, then pull the plug.
Yeah, but for instance, if they don't do that, okay, like, for instance, I haven't done that. If when I leave the set today, I get into a nasty car accident, I get T-boned by a drunk driver, I go brain dead, okay, would it be murder for, like, my family to tell the doctor at the hospital, well, because he's brain dead, let's just go ahead and pull the plug? Would that be murder?
I honestly, you're talking to someone that is very skeptical of doctors, okay? And
Okay, I understand what Dean is trying to say here, and I don't know what she's talking about. See what I mean? Like, they just try to like change the subject, but so he's trying to equate a doctor pulling a plug on a brain dead patient and aborting a fetus. Now he's trying to make it seem like it is equally as justified to do both, but there's a key difference. So I'm gonna try to break the symmetry, and it's pretty simple, right? The brain dead patient, right, is not fully healthy, right? So when you're talking about mercy compared to murder, they're two different things. I wouldn't pull a plug on anybody that is alive, but if someone is brain dead, like what is the mercy there? If it's like expenses, sure, I guess. I don't know who would try to keep somebody who is brain dead alive because there's nothing to save there, right? But I would say the difference is clearly that the fetus is healthy. So when you try to unalive somebody or when you try to kill something that is fully healthy, it is way different than somebody who is brain dead. When you're clinically declared brain dead, you cannot come back from it. And so when we're talking about the unborn, yeah, sure, a fetus prior to 20 to 24 weeks does not have the capacity to sustain, I don't know, consciousness, sentience, right? But in the future, they would. If they are brain dead, they have no future in getting that consciousness or sentience. So even judging by his standard on what he values in humans, right, it still wouldn't make sense. It's still not the same thing. But let's continue.
Woman. So if
Okay.
you want to tell me that you never get an abortion,
no,
all
I've
the
never
power
had
to you. I love that for you because that's your choice, and I think that's great. But listen, I don't think that abortion is murder because I don't think that there's any trait that we could identify to be true of a fetus in which we fundamentally would value enough to grant the right to life. The last person on the mic said, well, fundamentally, all humans have the same right to life, and that's something that we hear from a lot of pro-lifers. As I was attempting to communicate to her, everybody rejects that view in one way or another. So I want to hear your argument insofar as why it's morally wrong for a woman to get an abortion outside of its gross. Because
Okay.
grotesqueness doesn't arbitrate morality. Like, taking a shit's pretty gross. Shit smells like shit, right?
Okay.
But we're not going to say it's morally wrong to take a shit, even though it's gross. So what's the argument that abortion is wrong?
Let me just
the
ask
argument.
you this. Everyone's really focused on, it should be the right for every woman. Why don't you think about it the other way and think about why don't you prevent all these women who
All right, so I'm gonna give you guys some advice. When you're arguing on the opposition of abortion, just give like you have to define what the unborn are. That's the main topic. That is what's important in this discussion, because if you can get them to concede the fact that they are human and are worthy of life, that will win you the argument. Now, if they have a standard, you have to ask them why they hold to that standard and show them why they're a hypocrite. The same way Dean is showing us, I don't think you guys believe that all humans have the fundamental right to life because of this, that, and the third. You have to hold it to his standard. So ask him, right? What does he value in humans? Why do humans have value? I'm assuming he's going to say a consciousness or, you know, sentience in a human around the 20 to 24 weeks. So you use that standard against them. You can use like the coma, or you can have like a symmetry based on it, and hold him accountable, show him why his standard is flawed and why it's arbitrary and how impossible it is to legislate. But let's go.
Don't want to have babies. Why aren't you guys helping them prevent pregnancies?
We do. And
Okay,
I
no,
agree we should.
Yes, we
100%.
should.
And we
should
need
be
access to comprehensive sex ed in schools. We need
I
free and
agree.
fair access to
In schools?
yeah, of course.
At what age?
Is at an age appropriate level. I would say starting in late middle school, because
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I was in middle school. You were.
I agree with him. The middle schoolers be freaks, bro. I remember when I was in middle school, yeah, they be getting it on, man. Yeah, we should be teaching sex ed to kids pretty young. We shouldn't be too in depth with it. I feel like the parents should have an involvement in it as well. But yeah, we should give them some idea of how it works.
In middle school, we were all in middle school. The second thing that I think is also important here would be free and fair access to contraceptives, and we should also try to find ways to limit financial instability in young.
You can make the contraceptive argument. I just morally disagree with it. Apart from the topic of abortion and why abortion is wrong, I just think contraceptives is just makes people, for one, on the topic on abortion, if you want to push the idea of contraceptives, you're going to influence people to be reliant on them. And then when that dependency does not work, being that the 1% that it does not protect them from having children, they're going to get an abortion. So when I have that dependency on it, I would just say have abstinence, right? You should not be having intercourse if you can't handle the possibility that you might be a parent, right? I think that should be universal to everybody.
I want to hear why you think that abortion is wrong. I think that you're struggling to come up with an argument.
Because it is murder.
And the definition of
It
murder
is.
would be the unjust termination of a human life. Explain why you think it's unjust.
It's unjust because they are innocent. They were brought into the world without their own choice. And now if this is about choice, you got to take into account the fetus's choice, the child's choice, right? They were brought into this world without a choice, just to be murdered because of the flaws of the parent. So that makes it unjust. You book an appointment to the abortion clinic, so it's premeditated. You wanted to get rid of that child. The very definition of an abortion is the ending of a pregnancy with the death of the fetus or zygote. So in order for the abortion to be an abortion, the fetus has to die. So that makes all abortion inherently murder. So that's why it's unjust.
First of all, a woman who has a pregnancy, a baby in there, they have the right to life too.
What grants the fetus the right to life?
What grants
It
them
being human.
just that it's been conceived.
Or the fact that it's a human?
It is
Yes.
a human.
Okay, so brain dead patients have the right to life too?
No, because they're brain dead. I'll add on it just to make it a little bit easier, right? The fact that it's alive and it's human means it has the right to life. A brain dead patient is not alive. I don't know how, like, am I missing something here?
What, brain dead?
Yeah, they're human.
You know what? I've heard of brain dead humans coming out of comas.
Then they're not brain dead. The definition of brain death is irreversible cessation of all cognitive function. Do humans who are biologically alive because of machines with irreversible cessation of all cognitive function have the right to life?
I haven't really researched that, so if there was no hope, possibly,
Okay.
they should. I mean, that's
So they
not
don't.
and that's not my decision to make. That's a family member's.
Okay,
you know,
okay, so
that's
you
not
think
my
it should be up to
decision.
the choice of the family to kill a
You
human
know what? No,
that doesn't
well,
have the right
that
to life.
doesn't mean.
So you don't think that
but
all
if they,
humans have
but
the
if
right to
they're
life. So
brain
what is a
dead,
fetus?
but if they're brain dead, are they really alive?
Yes, biologically they are.
You know what? That's a determination that I would have to take with.
All right, I'm looking this up. Legally and medically, brain dead patients on life support are not biologically alive. Once the entire brain, including the brainstem, permanently stops functioning, a person is legally declared dead, even though machines artificially maintain their heartbeat and breathing to keep organs viable. While the body may appear alive, being warm and pink with a beating heartbeat, this is solely the result of artificial intervention, as the brain can no longer control these vital systems or sustain life. Okay, now let's do the symmetry. Are fetuses before viability biologically alive. Yes, from a biological standpoint, a fetus is alive long before it reaches the point of viability, the gestational age at which it can survive outside the uterus. Biologically, the fetus meets the standard scientific criteria for life. It actively grows, metabolizes energy, responds to stimuli, and possesses a distinct human DNA that coordinates development. Because viability simply refers to the biomedical and technological capacity for the fetus to survive outside the womb. It has no bearing on whether the fetus is biologically a living organism. Okay, perfect. So we can conclude that it is different. It is not the same thing. Thank you, Dean.
What about a zygote?
That is also murder.
So if I
Yep.
kill a unicellular organism, I'm a murderer. Do you think that all
Yes.
murderers should go to jail?
Human zygotes.
It
it's about
depends.
Humans.
So do you
It depends. I'm not an abolitionist to the point where I think the women who get an abortion should go to jail. I think that's when it comes to the doctors who are fully aware of the biological aspects of what makes somebody alive and what makes somebody dead, they should be taking most of the responsibility, because not everybody knows the gravity of the situation. But for the most part, if it's a woman that is fully aware, getting multiple abortions, yada yada yada, then yes, she should serve some time. She should face her crimes.
think that all murderers should go to jail?
All murderers should be put under trial and tried.
And
Yeah.
but if they're
And if-
truly murderers, like that's an uncontestable
Then
fact.
yeah, they should be put to death.
They should be put to death.
I do believe in the death
Nah.
penalty.
Wow.
I don't believe in
okay,
the
so
death
here's the
penalty.
thing. Do you know what an IUD is?
Yeah.
So an IUD, an intrauterine device, in some
I
circumstances.
already know where you're gonna go.
well,
What I love about when people bring up like contraceptives, IVF, is that I can easily say that, oh my gosh, camera, am I back? Hello? Anyways, what I was saying is what I like about arguing with people who bring up the contraceptive routes and IVF, everything when it comes to abortion. I love being Catholic. I can just say those are immoral too. Stop doing that too. So when it comes to an IUD, I've seen cases where a child grabs the IUD when it was born. Like the IUD was in his hand. Like yo, like you could not stop this. So it's like they aren't 100% foolproof either. So stop using them. It's just dumb.
allow
This-
for conception to occur,
Yeah.
but then it will implant. Then it will prevent the implantation of the now conceived
The
zygote.
purpose of the IUD
Can you
is
please
to
allow me to
prevent
finish?
implantation. If it leads to death,
Yeah.
then it's not. Then it didn't fulfill its purpose. It went
That's
beyond that.
that's a secondary purpose. So the main purpose of an IUD would be to prevent conception, but when that fails, the secondary purpose is to then prevent its implantation. So if a woman knows that sometimes IUDs will allow for conception to occur, then they kill that conceived zygote, and they still yet choose to be sexually active, then inevitably they conceive a zygote and it dies
I
because
think
of the IUD.
that when people
Under
have
your view, they're a
IUDs
murderer.
implanted, it is not for anything beyond just the prevention. Not it is not done.
Oh
of the
damn!
IUD,
So
if a woman
Dean just
and
got
not
fact checked
for-
here. Look, modern evidence shows that both copper and hormonal IUDs primarily prevent fertilization by impairing sperm function, blocking sperm from entering the egg, and altering the reproductive tract with very high effectiveness before an embryo ever forms. They also induce local changes in the uterine lining that can, in rare cases, make implantation less likely. But major reviews conclude that post-fertilization effects are a minor last-line mechanism, not the main or routine way IUDs work.
Anything
He's trying to
beyond-
say that it's a secondary mechanic that IUDs have. She's saying it's not, so she's right. She
just
got fact checked.
prevention. Not it is not.
Come
done
on,
for the
twin.
murder of any kind of implanted.
Well,
Look,
because it's a secondary
she
purpose.
cooked-
and
I'm not gonna
function
lie,
of
she
the
cooked a
IUD,
little
if
bit.
a woman knows that, then she's agreeing to the culpability of possibly having her actions yield the death of another person.
Yes.
Okay, and under your view and
I-
hopefully mine,
I can-
that would be
I can
murder,
concede that.
given
I'll
the
be like,
person
yes.
that she's killing through her actions by secondary
But
order
that was not
is
the
valuable.
primary purpose of the IUD.
Well, if I buy a gun with the primary purpose of going hunting, but then one day I get really mad and I use it to kill my neighbor, okay, I'm still a murderer.
No,
I
the
buy my
primary
car
purpose of
for
the
the
gun
primary
is
purpose
to
of-
shoot. Your primary
better
purpose
example
is
is a car.
hunting. Your secondary purpose by that
A better
by
example is
that
a car.
argument was
if
to shoot that
if
person.
I buy a car to get from point A to point B, but then one day I get drunk and I use it to like wipe out a family of 5, am I a murderer?
yes,
Yes.
Even though that wasn't the primary function of the car?
yes,
Okay,
because
so
you
then even
used
though
that
killing is
Yeah,
Sorry,
but
it's
no.
the
Oh
primary
my,
function of the
yo, this is such a, bro. This camera's gonna be tight. Yo, bro, that's such a bad argument. He just got fact checked, right? An IUD's primary focus is to prevent the sperm from going into the egg for implantation. That's the primary focus. The IUD killing a zygote is not a secondary focus. That's not what's intended. He just got fact checked for that, right? The car's main focus is for you to go from point A to point B. Its primary or like its secondary focus, oh my gosh. That's not why they create cars. They don't create cars so that you can have a secondary focus to get drunk and kill a family, right? Because that's illegal. It's illegal because that's not the primary focus. That's why we're fighting for, like, even me, like, I'm not even gonna lie, since I'm Catholic, I don't believe we should even use contraceptives. I think they should be banned, right? But the same way with abortion, we think it should be banned because it should be illegal. Why is this legal? Like, that's our point.
And I think that ultimately the primary or secondary purpose argument is irrelevant because what we should be evaluating
agree.
is, did a valuable life die, and is a
Yes.
person culpable for the termination of that valuable life?
Yes.
And if a valuable life died and a person is culpable for the
No,
termination of that
because
valuable
it was
life,
used only
and
for
it
its
was not
primary
justified,
purpose
then
of
it's murder.
preventing the pregnancy in the first place.
Okay, so I just want to clarify. You don't think in all scenarios when an individual terminates a valuable life unjustifiably so, and they are culpable for said termination, that they're a murderer? Well, then you're just completely redefining what murder even is by introducing the abstract nuance of this quote-unquote primary or secondary purpose
You were
argument.
talking
No.
about
I can easily say the same thing with Dean.
If
She-
you would
she
like to
cooked,
be
I'm
the
not gonna
next
lie.
debater, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
This girl was she
Howdy.
did I.
Hi,
She
Shannon.
was just yapping.
Shannon, Dean, pleasure to
Nice
meet you.
So I want to know why you think that killing babies should be legal.
Of course, because I'm a brutalistic Satanist and I love the DNC and I'm the leader of Antifa. Listen, the reason why I think abortion should be legal is because I don't think that abortion is morally wrong. I think it's a permissible action. And because I think it's a permissible action, I therefore don't see any good reason to infringe on a woman's bodily autonomy in the legal prevention of her access to abortion. Therefore, it's a human rights violation.
So you don't understand it as like killing. You don't think it's killing a human being,
No, I do.
and you're okay with that.
Yes.
Okay. so you
Ask-
don't think that
Morally
we
wrong
should
with it.
focus.
This is the perfect time to ask him what's his standard on what he values in humans. This is the perfect, like, you guys gotta lock in, man.
I want to ask you this question. Do you think that victims of should be able to access abortion?
No, because they could also take a morning after pill if they get. If I were to get, I would go take a morning after pill the very next day.
Wow. So you think that a victim would have an obligation to maintain a pregnancy? Is that because that if they were to like cessate or stop the pregnancy, the fetus would die? Okay, of course it is. So I want to ask you a question. Do you know who Max Irby is?
No.
So Max Irby is a 15, 14-year-old guy, and he's in dire need of a stem cell transplant. And this is a true story. You could look it up. And his stem cell type is so incredibly rare that his father set up a quote-unquote fundraiser for his son, taking random DNA samples in from people across the globe. So far, they've collected 40 million samples, and there hasn't been one match. What this means is that there's probably only one match alive on the face of planet Earth that could provide stem cells to Max Irby to save his life. So let's hypothetically assume that you are the one and only match for Max Irby's stem cell type, and the government finds this out. Then the government forces you to provide your stem cells to Max Irby without your consent for 9 months, introducing many physical and mental complications. Do you think that'd be just?
No.
No, because they shouldn't be able to force you to provide your bodily resources to another life, even if not providing your bodily resources would mean that other life dies. That's my position on victims of. They shouldn't be forced to provide domicile in their uterus and access to their bodily resources to the fetus, even if stopping the sustenance of those bodily resources to the.
Okay, I'ma have to provide the symmetry breaker again. So what Dean is talking about, basically the violinist argument. Basically, if you woke up attached to a violinist by the music organization, whatever, they forced you to be attached to them and saying that, well, you just have to be attached to this unconscious violinist for 9 months and then you're freed. So basically ask you, would you have an obligation to keep that person alive, right? I'm going to tell you why this is different from pregnancy or like in his case of rape. Yes, the woman did not consent to conceive the child, obviously. The difference is that you're not actively killing somebody in order to save your life. In his scenario, he's basically saying that should the government force you to give somebody stem cells? Me not giving somebody stem cells is not the same thing as me murdering somebody or me killing somebody. Is withholding them something in order to make them whole or healthy again. An abortion is not withholding somebody blood or anything to make them healthy again. The fetus is already healthy. You are withdrawing things so that they can no longer develop. Let's continue.
Fetus means the fetus dies. No difference than Max Irby.
This is a tough one for me because I have mixed feelings about it, obviously, because that's a horrible situation to be in. But I do, like I said earlier, Morning after pill.
Well, could you respond to the
Okay,
argument I
we
gave
have
you?
to pause there. You've been voted out.
Hey, listen, I appreciate you for the respectful dialogue.
By the way, I want to tell you I respect you a lot.
Well,
I
thank
saw
you.
when you cried for Charlie Kirk. You actually have us all.
Have a good one.
If you
Folk.
want to be the next debater, please get to the chair.
Why did she
in
say
3,
that?
Young
So
woman.
what abortion does is it incentivizes people to live in a promiscuous way that further increases the rates of pregnancies that are not in a stable situation like marriage. And so I'm actually against contraception.
Being
Based.
pro-contraceptive would save the lives of
No.
more innocent babies under your review.
No,
So
it wouldn't.
killing an
On one
innocent
No, it
human
wouldn't.
being is always wrong. Abortion kills an innocent human being. Therefore, abortion is always wrong.
Yeah,
W
reject-
And
syllogism.
allowing abortion just reflects our overall decay as a society when it comes to the way we view sexuality, marriage, and it just leads to a culture of death. When you have abortion, it leads to things like MAID in Canada. What abortion is we're allowing the government to have the authority to define when personhood begins.
Yup.
Because we're separating it from the moment of conception. And if it's not at the moment of conception, then the most powerful person gets to decide when it begins. And
Yup.
that's always subjective.
Yup.
And when more powerful people have that authority or allow themselves to have that authority to define when personhood begins, you have grave travesties like slavery. If it's a subjective line, then when does that begin? When does personhood begin? And when you say it doesn't begin at conception, it's actually what you're arguing is a very suspicious, mystical idea
Yep.
of when it does. And that
Arbitrary.
sounds more superstitious than Christianity.
It's arbitrary. It's arbitrary. You cannot legislate it. It's impossible.
Thank you for your comments. About your syllogism, I'd reject P1. Don't think it's always wrong to kill an innocent human being.
To intentionally kill an innocent human being, you don't think it's always wrong to intentionally kill an innocent human being.
Like I've said
Why?
to the last 5 guests, I mean, we do that to brain dead patients all the time.
Okay, so that's to
And I would
withhold
like-
care from them
I would
that
like-
sustains their life.
Okay.
That's different than intentionally going there
Yeah.
and killing
Okay,
them.
so then you're on board with the abortion pill, withholding the progesterone supplied through the umbilical cord that would sustain the life of the fetus.
I
Again, Dean, withholding care from somebody who is healthy is different from withholding care from somebody who is dying. If you withhold oxygen from somebody by drowning them, you wouldn't make that analogous to abortion, bro. You're withholding them care for them to survive. If they were already sick, then it's way different. Like it's not even the same thing. Like, what are you talking about?
My question is, let's just like envision a hypothetical of like a 9-year-old girl getting raped and impregnated, and we know that pregnancy is not going to kill her. Per your syllogism that you gave earlier, it seems to be the case that you'd argue it would be wrong for her to get an abortion. Is this true?
abortion only continues to perpetuate
Yeah.
violence, the cycle of violence. It
Yeah.
only increases the trauma.
I'm not gonna lie, you guys, like, us as pro-lifers, we're gonna have to bite the bullet on this. Yes, it will still be murder.
To that child, and what we would do
Especially
is
if
still
she
try
would
to
survive.
minimize the trauma of pregnancy
But
for that
ultimately, no
9-year-old.
abortion.
I am completely against abortion in all cases, period, and that's
Even
the
for-
consistent pro-life stance.
Wow.
Yes,
I
it's
What
consistent.
about when it's like the life of the mother on the line?
Okay, so that's nonsense. What we have is exactly
It's not nonsense. But the majority of the cases are ectopic pregnancies where the fetus is already dead. If the fetus is already dead in your womb and you need to extract it, that wouldn't be an abortion because the fetus would need to be unalived. Said unalive. The fetus would need to be killed in order for it to be an abortion. But if the fetus is already dead, it would just be the extraction of fetal tissue. So in that case, no. It wouldn't be an abortion, so the argument is irrelevant. But in the cases where the mother is genuinely, like, the mother and the fetus are both alive and the mother's life is at stake, then you can get to the next level. They're both humans. Okay, who do I save? Because if I choose none, both die. You have to save one. Saving one over the other is not murder. I'll give you a scenario, basically the Charlie scenario. You have a stranger on one side and you have one of your children on the other side. If you choose none of them, both die. You would choose your child because although they're both human and equal of value, you would choose what's familiar to you, right? So you would choose your child over the stranger. In the case where the mother's life at stake and the fetus life is at stake, I would choose the mother because I can always have more kids and it would be a tragedy, but it wouldn't be murder.
Less
it
trauma
does a
than
lot of
childbirth.
trauma to the uterus. And not only that, but many women end up being suicidal.
Less trauma
after-
than childbirth. Yes, I agree. But like she said, emergency C-section, that's less traumatic than giving birth. But at the same time, like even having the knowledge of an abortion can still be traumatic for most women. And even like Lila Rose stated this, that there was a study being done about the women who have had abortions, that the suicide rates for them have increased after an abortion. But yes, there is definitely some traumatic experiences behind that. My argument for that is, one, it's a scapegoat because it's like less than 1% of abortions. The other reason is basically that if we don't advocate for women to kill their born child conceived of rape, then we shouldn't advocate it for when they're unborn. It's the perfect symmetry. The only difference is location. You could use this argument with anything pertaining to the pro-choice argument. You can use this for literally anything. If it's not okay outside the womb, it's not okay inside the womb. If their experience was truly traumatic, then we would have it legalized that women should kill their born child based on the traumatic experiences that they have endured during the conception of their child. But since we don't do that, then we shouldn't do that when it's unborn. Okay, that's basically it. They just yap. She didn't answer the question. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. God bless y'all. Read more about a lot of the cases that Dean and this woman is speaking about. Try to learn more about the arguments that they use, hold their stance accountable, and show why it doesn't make sense. The same way Dean is doing with us and why we value human life. But yeah, God bless y'all. See ya in the next video. Hopefully. We'll see.